Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the Friday shit show. We got rankings updates, injury news. Dr. Jesse Morse will actually be joining us a little bit later on to discuss the severity of some of these issues. We'll talk about DraftKings ownership, recap Thursday Night Football. We got it all for you. Use the time codes if there's something specifically that you would like to hear about. But I mean, I just suggest you listen to the entire show. If you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, two ways to do so. One, smash the like button for the video. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and tell me where you would rank Darwin Thompson in the Week 3 running back rankings for PPR purposes. Because Meaney and I are going to discuss this, and frankly, I don't think that anyone has like a true answer to it. So, like, who are the guys that you would play him over? Where would you rank him as a Week 3 running back? The other way to do so for the audio podcast, Pat Mayo Experience, leave a 5-star review after you subscribe. Rate it 5 stars. DraftKings handle and something nice you like about the show. Winners announced on Monday, 1 p.m. live Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel and the Pat Mayo Experience, or the PME/PME on Facebook page. We'll be back on Sunday morning as well, live, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself, Gary and Cust, and Chris Meaney. You got to play in the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Listeners League.
I'm already locked in.
It doesn't fill up quite. I guess the golf one happened so early in the week that like by Tuesday it's full.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had problems filling it yet, but I look at it right now. There's still like 1,500 spots left. Like, who's not in this tournament? It's rake free.
Yeah.
It's only $15. Someone commented at me. It's like, well, you'd have more success if it was only $10. If the extra $5 is really killing you, you shouldn't be fucking playing to begin with.
Yeah, if you're afraid about losing the $5, you should probably just sit this one out. Yeah, I lock in every week. As soon as your show is up, I just click reserve. Same thing we talked about last week.
Yeah.
I reserve and then I mess around with it Sunday morning. So yeah, I'm in. I'm locked and loaded, man.
You don't want to miss it. It's rake-free money. There's over $60,000 of guaranteed
It's like
money.
one of the best tournaments that the site has to offer, really.
It probably is the best tournament. Because it's a 3 max too. It's not like people can just pound entries into it.
Right.
Like, you have 3 max is essentially like single entry.
Yeah, and that's right up my alley. I love the 3 max. Like, I don't really kind of mess around with more than that. The 3 max entry is what I like the most.
Yeah, that's why I made it the 3. I petitioned to make it a 3 max. Like, I like playing 3 entries.
Yes.
I don't want to have to play I don't have to build like 20.
I just don't have time for that.
No,
I just don't have time for 20 lineups. I mean, I play like 20 seasonal leagues. Like, that's enough to try to keep track of that.
This
alone.
is why I really cut back on seasonal.
Yeah.
If people are looking for the weekly rankings, they're up on DKPlaybook.com or hit the description of this video or podcast where you find the link to the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings League. Also there, all the previous shows for this week, all the rankings list. That's where you find everything if you're concerned about that sort of thing. Let's talk about injuries, though. I kind of alluded to it right off the top.
Yeah.
Yep. But Rappaport bomb, let's go. Live on the show.
Rappaport bomb.
Patriots have released wide receiver Antonio Brown as he is indicted on Twitter. Or as he indicated on Twitter. They have moved on.
Okay, so breaking news on the show. I guess we'll be one of the
not
first
take
people.
long.
I'm glad this actually happened at the very beginning of the show.
Usually happens when you hit publish.
That's what happened to us the first 2 weeks. So if people couldn't hear Paul in the background, shout out Paul Shag for keeping on this.
Yeah, attaboy, Paul.
The Patriots have released Antonio Brown because of all the allegations surrounding him. So not going to be in the lineup this week. So take him out of your line. That's my hot tip on advice.
Take him out, yeah.
So do we just go back to what we thought to begin with as it pertains to Edelman and Josh Gordon? I still like Josh Gordon more than I actually, you know, in PPR leagues, I like Edelman more than I like Gordon.
Yeah, me too. He's the safe guy. And even still with Brown there, I still liked him. I downgraded him slightly, but I was thinking he'd still be fine. He'd probably be the most consistent of the trio. And now, yeah, you just put him back up there as a borderline wide receiver 1 in full point PPR leagues, at least a low end for sure.
Are we talking about Gordon or Edelman?
No, Edelman.
Yeah, Edelman, like rest of the season, like off the top of my head, like I don't want to get into semantics. He could be 12, he could be 17. You're like, yeah, wide receiver 15.
Yeah, he's a top 15 guy. Gordon, you have to be happy if you're a Gordon owner because honestly, I have a couple shares and I was a little bit bummed with Antonio because you just don't know. And you saw last week, the first few plays of the game was Brown. Gordon's not getting involved. And then you think, okay, maybe, you know, later on down the road when, you know, Brown has a tough matchup, not that he can't exploit it, maybe they'll go to Gordon. And like you just didn't have any faith to start this guy. And I think now with Brown gone, he becomes that deep threat guy again, a little bit more upside.
Would you pick
James
up?
White is fine
Would
now,
you pick
too.
up Philip Dorsett now?
Yeah,
I think I
so.
would.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. Even in a 12-team league, absolutely. You saw week 1 what happened. He had a little bit of a rapport with Brady towards the end of the season. So I think he becomes a player now. You go and rush and you go grab him on the waiver wire. Maybe you don't start him every week, but nice depth piece to when you get next week starting buys.
Yeah.
Lots of injuries are going to happen as well.
Well, also on DraftKings this week, this opens up Dorsett as one of the other value
It
wide
does.
receivers to talk about. So
sure.
it's a pretty interesting case. I can't believe they cut him. It must be bad.
It has to be bad. Before I was up late last night, before I went to sleep, another report had surfaced about Antonio Brown and him attacking one of his accusers allegedly. It's hard to keep up with Antonio Brown these days, but that seemed like it was the final straw, that he would not only maybe the NFL would probably step in, and that's probably what happened. Like if the Patriots didn't release him now, the NFL probably steps in and really doesn't give him much of a choice.
I don't own Antonio Brown on any of my teams, but if I did, I think I'd be pensive just to cut him right away, because if this all turns out, they go to the league, the league doesn't suspend him, someone is going to sign him.
Right. Yeah.
And then you have him on your team. I mean, he's kind of a scumbag, so maybe you don't want to associate yourself with that.
Sure,
but
maybe
I
you
would
don't.
play it, wait and see, unless you desperately need to make a move. And with the buys coming up, maybe you do. But unless there's some like obvious thing to look at in this situation, give it a few days.
Yeah, give it a few days and see what happens. And we said this last week. I think I had a question about Odell Beckham Jr. Like, should I trade Brown for Beckham? It's like, yes, you take this. You take
the safe
that
guy
right away. Even like a borderline wide receiver too. I was saying to tell people to do it because you just don't know. It always seems to be something with him. It's been a crazy couple months with Antonio Brown. It's really hard to keep up with everything that he is, he's been through. It's wild, but I guess it does kind of downtick Brady a little bit too, because just originally when he signed there, Brady was picked up off the waiver wire in a lot of spots. Like, oh my goodness, like he wasn't a top 12 quarterback. Nobody's really buying in. Oh, now he's top 5, and now a bit of a bummer. But with everything that happened in the past week with quarterbacks, you probably just continue to roll him out there.
Yeah, as it pertains to this week against the Jets, where they're over 20-point favorites at home, you think like this is a game where Sony Michel eats. And we'll probably end up seeing that. But I would increase Edelman to probably top 15 for the week, Gordon to just fringe top 20, maybe number 20. And I'd probably bump up Dorsett to a top 40 type receiver. Like if people are trying to figure it out with your DeMarcus Robinsons and McCole Hardmans and John Rosses, like all those guys, even DK, DraftKings Metcalf, like that tier of guy. I think Dorsett's in the mix with those guys for this week, because points are going to be scored.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to score points. And even last week they were throwing the football when they were still up. So points are going to be scored. And James White too. Again, I think he's in full point PPR leagues. I think he's, a borderline RB2, at least a flex. You plug him in.
Potentially. I don't like White as much in these type of games because eventually just Rex Burkhead starts to play. And I think
he's getting a lot of play,
But in closer games, I mean, they've had 2 blowouts so far. This one is expected to be a blowout. I don't think the Patriots are so head and shoulders above everyone else that they're just going to win by 35 points every week.
Right.
Eventually, they're going to start playing some teams. Like even when they play the Bills
I think
next
that's in
week,
Buffalo.
That's a tougher game just because they're going up against a better defense. Now, the Patriots are better than the Bills. I'm not saying that they crush the Bills or even beat the Bills. But in a game where you go up against a better defense, I think that's where James White has a bit more value.
Yeah, well, you're talking about Buffalo as the number 1 pass defense in the NFL last year, and it doesn't look like they've missed a beat.
They may have gotten better, although we don't know because they played the Jets and Giants.
Yeah, and I believe they're the only team in the top 10 against the run and the pass. So, they only have played the Jets and the Giants. And another cakewalk, really, game this week.
Don't be so sure about that.
I'm not saying they're going to cover the spread and win by 7, but I don't expect Cincinnati to do a whole lot offensively, at least not with Mixon, I don't.
No. I do think this game, I think the Bengals cover.
Yeah, I mean, you might get that backdoor cover.
I don't even think it's a backdoor cover.
One of those games that you just feel like Buffalo, this is like a typical letdown spot. Buffalo feeling good about themselves.
Oh yeah, Josh Allen throws 2 pick sixes.
Sure,
and
I can see that. Absolutely, it's not out of the question. That could happen.
Not that hurts Josh Allen's fantasy value. If he throws 2 pick sixes, then he has to come back and throw some more.
Which we saw in week 1.
Yeah,
this guy led the NFL in comebacks last year, which is hard to believe.
Because he usually digs his own grave, then he has to dig up and get himself out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so Brown.
Oh, Antonio Brown's done. Okay.
Let's talk about the Chiefs' backfield then. So Shady's in, Damian Williams is out with his knee problem, and then we get the situation with Darwin Thompson. Now, Shady's dealing with an ankle injury. Yeah. He's going to play, but there's even reports like, how much work do we give him? I would start Shady over starting Darwin Thompson. Yeah. And then I start thinking about Darwin Thompson being like, well, I think that he's good. Every running back in this offense is pretty good. But the Ravens' run defense, better than its pass defense.
Yes.
But if you tell me that, like, there's a chance here, and this probably pertains more to DraftKings, I think, than it does to season long, because you should have better options. Like I'd probably still play someone like Frank Gore with Singletary out
100%
over Darwin Thompson. But like for $3,000 on DraftKings, like what if Shady tweaks his ankle on play 1?
Yeah.
Then you get 25 touches from Darwin Thompson. You're gonna want that.
Yeah.
But how do you parse that out?
Yeah, it's tough. It does feel like, at least this week, much like last week, because Kansas City didn't have any success with Shady or Damian in there running the football, that maybe Mahomes is going to throw the ball 40 plus times. And if Mahomes is going to throw the ball 40 plus times and Shady does, suffer a little bit of a setback and Darwin's in there, you're right. I think you'd be silly not to take a share or two with Darwin 3K, but I do like Shady still. He suffered that ankle injury late in that game. I believe they're being pretty cautious with him in practice. I think you're seeing that a lot. I mean, the Eagles just flat up canceled practice midweek because they didn't have enough guys who were healthy.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think you're seeing that more and more, let's be patient here with our studs. We don't need Shady to be running practice reps or not. So it is a bit of a risk, but I think in season long you certainly play him, and maybe just the fact that everyone's going to go at Darwin 3K, maybe we'll get Shady with a lower ownership.
I don't know if people have the guts to go with him.
To go with Darwin?
To go with Darwin. I think people might do it for cost savings, but I think that it's still better to pay down at receiver this week. I love
agree with that.
I love
agree
Devin
with that
Smith this week. He's like 3,400. And we'll get to Alshon in a second, but if he doesn't play, like people are just flooding with Aguilar.
Yeah.
I would almost go the other way.
Arcega-Whiteside?
Yeah, I think Arcega-Whiteside's probably the better play. Like he had like 91 air yards last week. Like it seems like if someone's going to hit big, it's going to be him. And once we get to like the DraftKings ownership later on, I have Nelson Aguilar penciled in as the highest owned receiver on the slate. Like if you give me one guy at 17%, one guy at 2%, and we both don't know,
right?
I'll take the guy at 2% who's the big play threat over the guy who probably ends up with like 5 for 55.
I said this on the Footballer Show is that I feel like Arcega-Whiteside will probably be on Slay, but I think he's a better tournament play, and I think Aguilar is a pretty safe cash play. I think I would play him in cash and just kind of fade him in tournaments because of the ownership. A lot of people will be on him. He's going to get double-digit targets in this game, especially with Alshon.
Yeah, but we saw Mac Hollins play the slot last week, and it bumped Aguilar to the outside. So maybe Slay stays with Aguilar.
It's possible. I'm sure there's going to be some snaps, but they'll move him around. Like they've done that in the past few years, moved Aguilar around all over the field.
Like that's all to say that there's a chance Alshon plays. Deshaun Jackson's going to be out. I don't think Alshon plays.
I don't think he plays either.
But if that's the case, then I guess Arcega-Whiteside is just an absolute no-go. But that's an early game on Sunday, and we'll know by
you'll know.
We'll know when the actives come out at 11:30.
The play in that game is Ertz. Like he had led everybody in tight ends, or not just tight ends, everybody with targets last week at 16. Like I'm not breaking news here.
I hate playing Zach Ertz. I don't know why. He's so good.
And there's such a gap this week in terms of him and Kelsey up near the top too. I mean, he's gonna go. But after week 1, you think, okay, there's no way this guy set records last year for most catches ever by a tight end. There's no way he's going to be able to come close to that with Alshon and Jackson.
But now they're not
there. And if you saw last week, again, 16 targets from Zach Ertz, leads all tight ends after 2 weeks.
I haven't projected his number 2 ownership, but only 15.
Ertz?
Yeah, Ertz.
Yeah.
Kelsey at 16, Ertz at 15, and Mark Andrews at 12.
Those are the 3 guys.
I still like Waller because he's cheaper.
Yes, I like Waller too.
And Kittle's in a really nice spot. Vance McDonald's also in a revenge game in a very nice. Mason Rudolph loved Vance McDonald last week.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, we've said this before with rookie quarterbacks and inexperienced quarterbacks. I mean, they don't go through all their reads. Sometimes it's a check down, and sometimes it's just who's in the slot or who's the tight end that I could easily throw to. So I expect him to have a lot of work.
Ingram's interesting.
Ingram is interesting with the new quarterback in play with Jones. What is a pretty decent matchup. I think he should get a lot of volume. Waller. I like Greg Olsen a little bit.
He's dealing with a back injury.
Oh no, also another inexperienced quarterback. I just saw in the first 2 weeks Arizona what was like Hawkinson, Andrews last week.
How does Philly do against tight ends? Because I think Hawkinson might be
he's in play.
Just because the defensive line of the Eagles is so banged up right now that one of the reasons why he had to stay back and not run as many routes against the Chargers because you have to deal with Ingram and Bosa and having a top tier blocker to protect your quarterback, which Hawkinson is. That's the route that you end up taking. But if the Eagles, I was going to say the Phillies, the Eagles aren't going to generate as much pressure as you normally would think that they would. Maybe Hawkinson runs some more routes, and we know that secondary is just brutal.
Well, the secondary is absolute trash. Like, what's the ownership on Galladay? Like, it should be near 85. Let's
I don't have Galladay inside the top 3 right now.
Yeah.
Of wide receiver. I think he's like top 6.
I mean, he's a lock. Ronald Darby's just been absolutely clueless out there. Only Oakland has given up more passing yards to quarterbacks so far this season, and it's just a trend that's continued for a couple of years now. The Eagles secondary has just been so bad. So Golladay, I expect to be chalky. He's got a touchdown in each game. He's going to get double-digit targets. I think his prop is 69 yards, 69 and a half. I've already taken the over on that, and I think Marvin Jones on the other side and Hawkinson, to your point, I think Detroit could actually win this football game this week.
Yeah, it's a tricky line. Like when I was trying to think about my Super 7, this always, because I got the Thursday night game wrong, I was really feeling myself on Thursday night. I had won like 9.
I was on Tennessee.
I'd won
too.
like 9 straight public bets. I was like, you know what? I'm going to load up. It just goes to show that the reason that I was doing so well with my bets and my props, because I had limited everything and only actually bet things I really liked.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
Instead
I can't.
of everything.
Instead of just everything. And then I was like, well, I'm hot. I can't lose. It's like when you're riding a heater in blackjack and you just start, like, instead of progressively upping your bet. So if you lose a hand, it's fine. It'd be like betting like 25, 25, 25, 300. And then just losing that hand. It's like, oh God, now I'm down. At least that didn't happen. But like, there was one bet in that game that I liked, the over in the sacks. And instead, I bet 4 other things along with it. That's the one that I won. Yeah. Like, what am I doing here?
And it's the same thing, actually. I went 12 for 6 on my spreads last week, feeling really good about
4.
Yeah, or 12 and 4, 12 and 6. Really good with my spreads. And then all of a sudden, it's like, Tennessee, feel real good about Tennessee. Like their defense, been awesome. Actually picked them up in a couple season-long leagues just hours before kickoff. And they just looked awful. I mean, Marcus Mariota again. I mean, he's getting sacked so much and the line is not great, but we just seem to I just seem to always make excuses for Marcus Mariota, and then I give him the benefit of the doubt and then I back him like a loser. Like, why am I backing this guy? Is just, there's nothing really to like about Mariota at all. So it was a tough night.
So let's go back to the Chiefs backfield for a second. So again, Damian Williams is out. Shady's going to play and could be on a snap count, could get re-injured. I don't know. So Darwin Thompson comes in. Who are you playing Shady over? Like, where does he fall into the running back rankings? Like, Josh Jacobs was removed from the injury report today.
Yeah, I would play Jacobs.
I'd play Jacobs.
Yeah. Because Shady's not going to get those 20 touches. I think we could agree with that.
Yeah, but
if he gets 5 carries,
he could have like 18 though.
He could catch 5 or 6 balls, which is very valuable again in that offense. I still don't think of him as a top 25 running back. I think I would play him over a guy like maybe Peyton Barber.
All right, I'd play him over Peyton Barber. Would you play him over someone like Marlon Mack, who now seems like he's going to play?
No,
he practiced today.
I would play Marlon Mack because he practiced in full. I expect him to get 20 touches, and that's what he's gotten over the first 2 weeks of the season. So I would just bank on those touches and that kind of volume against the Falcons. Like, it's not an awful spot.
Like, I'd play him against all like the loser running backs you don't want to play. Like, you don't want to play Devonta Freeman at this point. Like, I would play. I'd play Shady. I might even play Darwin Thompson over Freeman. Like, Freeman stinks.
He does.
This could be the week where he breaks out. I don't know. But
at least he does. I mean, he's got the 3 catches in each of his first 2 games. But he's getting kind of outsnapped now by Ito Smith, who's not good.
Okay, would you play Frank Gore?
I would play Frank Gore over LaShawn McCoy.
Because Devin Singletary has been ruled out for this game. So we'll get some TJ Yeldon.
I'd play Gore.
Gore's gonna get so many touches.
Exactly. So I'd play Gore. I think I may play Shady over Mixon. Mixon and Freeman. Like, why am I playing Joe Mixon?
You play Gore over Mixon? I agree with you. I'm down on Mixon as well, but like,
I would take the 20 touches against a soft defense with Frank Gore. If Frank Gore is going to get 18 carries again and fall in the end zone once, I don't have any confidence that Mixon's going to fall in the end zone or that he's going to be able to run between the tackles. He's obviously not healthy. And Zach Taylor comes in under Sean McVay, and they're throwing the football a ton. They're using those weapons. Like, Dalton's having career games.
Well, I think that
without AJ.
Go back to the the spread in that game. I think that's something that might catch the Bills off guard at least early.
They're going to throw.
Like, Boyd just being open, Ross being so fast. Like,
and Eifert's going to be targeted.
The Giants and Jets they didn't have that. Like, Darnold, according to Tim Andercast, he was clearly sick for that first game. That's why they suck so much. They just couldn't block. That's the one thing, though. Like, with Corey Glenn going to be out again for the Bengals, like, that offensive line is not going to hold up to the pressure the Bills are going to bring. I like both defenses in that game, by the way.
Yeah, I like the Bengals are widely available and super cheap. DK.
Yeah, they're almost like the min price.
Very cheap. So I mean,
you go Gore over. I have to think about that one.
Gore over. I mean, it's crazy to think about, like, Mixon. It's obviously nuts, but I mean, I'm just following trends right now, and I'm looking at opportunity and volume and the environment. I just don't love the environment for Mixon. I like it a little bit more for Gore, but
When I look at the rank, like I don't have them in front of me, I'm guessing that Shady's going to come in somewhere around like 23, 24.
Yeah, I had him.
But
I
let's
had
say
him
he wasn't
early
dealing-
30s.
Let's see. I say,
But now he's moving up. Now
because I had Williams initially at 20. Like that seems like a good spot. Maybe I'll just put McCoy in where I had Williams.
Exactly. Yeah, you
And then
put
just
him
bump
in
up
maybe
Darwin
even a
Thompson.
couple more spots ahead of Williams because you put Williams there thinking that Shady was going to play. Like both of these guys are going to play, and Williams was going to get maybe 60% of the snaps and maybe a few more catches. So you bump Shady up a little bit more. I mean, Williams was he not the most obvious bust candidate?
He hasn't really been a bust yet, though. Like he's been okay through 2 games. Just he's not going to live.
Yeah,
there was no way
he's
that
catching balls.
but there was no way that he was going to live up like as soon as they signed Shady to the second round draft grade that they had.
What did
him.
he have last week? Like 9 carries, 8 yards. Like
Yeah, he's getting involved in the passing game.
but he was drafted as like a top 15 back.
Sure, but we didn't know Shady was going to sign.
Even after he still was, there were
No,
still
he
people
wasn't.
touting him. Yeah, there were. There were still people touting him. Trust me. I'm not going to call anybody out. There were still people touting Damian Williams as a top 15 back in this offense. That he only needed 12 touches to be a borderline RB1.
I would say that 90% of people were not doing that
Yeah.
after the trade. And then there was the 10% contrarian outliers that wanted to go with it. But
Yeah. Put Shady in that offense. I know he's not 100% healthy, but roll him out as an RB2 this week in a full PPR setting.
Would you play McCoy or any of the San Francisco guys?
That's a great question.
And which San Francisco guy do you
which San Francisco
I think
guy
Breda
would
is
play?
the play, but I think Mostert's close.
I think Mostert is really close. I think he runs better. He was catching passes. Would he have 3 catches last week? He runs really hard. It's been 2 straight weeks now. He's been good. It's just Jeff Wilson seems like he's the goal line back there. So it's a complete mess against the Steelers. I think I'd play Breida over Shady, but I don't think I'd play Mostert over him. But that's a great question. That's the question that many people are going to have for you on Sunday during the live show.
And one of the biggest things with the San Francisco backfield too is how much can we really take away from that game against the Bengals where they won by 30?
Right, and they're not tackling. The defensive line was not good in Cincinnati. It was great in week 1, and they were like, "Hey, maybe we have something." And it's like, "No, you don't." It was really bad. There were a lot of holes. So I just think that San Fran's going to continue to use all 3 of those backs almost pretty evenly, which is very scary.
Yeah, which is just
like
not great.
you definitely don't touch him in DraftKings.
See, that's why I would go with Breda.
Yeah, he's the better back.
First season long, I don't think I'd touch any of them in DraftKings.
No, I wouldn't touch any of them in DraftKings either. No chance. Can't do it.
Do you think Marlon Mack gets the full complement of work here?
I do. Yeah.
And also for the Colts, Darius Leonard's out with a concussion, which does actually kind of help out Freeman a little bit on the ground. But I just think Ito looks better.
He does.
Not that he looks good,
I
but
know.
he looks better.
You're right. He does. He does look better. Yeah, Freeman is certainly puzzling. I thought he would get a full workload, and
Nope.
I give him the pass. The first 2 weeks were tough matchups. It's hard to run in Minnesota. It's tough to run on Philly. But Aaron Jones actually was able to run on Minnesota last week. He was able to get a full workload.
He also had like 387 carries.
He did, yeah. And then Matt LaFleur comes out and says he wants to have a bit closer to an even split. And like this is why Derrick Henry was absolute garbage in the first few weeks of the season last year because they were giving Deion Lewis touches. Yeah, LaFleur seems a little clueless to me.
Who was it? There was someone who came out. Fuck, I can't remember the coach's name or like the player that it was concerning. It was just like, I want X player to get more touches. Well, you're the fucking coach. Yeah. So you can call the play that gets him more touches. All right.
Yeah, who knows? It could have been maybe Duke. Where was Duke last week? He had 1 target, 0 catches. How come Carlos Hyde got 20 carries?
Because he's the one who like that's very clear that he's like.
It's very clear.
Would you play Carlos Hyde or would you play Shady?
I would play Carlos Hyde. I think it does depend on your matchup and upside. I think you have to look at that. I think you have to just, are you playing safe with Carlos Hyde? Do you have a bunch of boomer bust guys? Like, I think that's what it comes down to, like splitting hairs just slightly. I think I would just take the volume and safety with Hyde.
Tunsil's banged up, but it looks like he's going to play against the Chargers, and they desperately need him against that pass rush. But I think you can almost draw a direct correlation line of Hyde and Duke Johnson to whether they're up in games or down in games. They led that entire Jacksonville game.
They did.
And then Hyde gets 20 carries.
Yeah.
If they fall behind like he did in the Saints game, you're going to see a Duke Johnson game where he piles up 6 catches.
This should be a close game, though. This should be like a field goal game, right?
Yeah, you would think so. Especially because the Chargers will miss 5 field goals to keep it close.
Yeah, my goodness. Like, yeah.
Poor Jeff was on edge.
And originally I was on the Chargers, and then I hear the Hunter Henry news, and like just that alone. And then Mike Williams played okay. I was just immediately off of them, but only got that game because they couldn't kick a field goal. Like, they should have won the game.
Cam Newton's sitting this week. Kyle Allen playing. You could play Kyle Allen this week on DraftKings.
Was he 4K?
He's 4K. And he runs. Like,
yeah, he does run.
So the stack, if you want to do it.
Runs more than Cam.
He does. Well, yeah. Greg Olson's dealing with the back injury. Just looking back at what he did last year, he actually targeted DJ Moore a bunch. So I don't think DJ Moore is overly affected by this. But I would give... I don't even want to say I want to give a downgrade to the offense because it's sort of like the Ben Mason Rudolph situation where Ben was just playing so poorly. Like, how could Mason Rudolph be a downgrade?
That's kind of how I feel too. Yeah.
That in this situation, Cam was playing so poorly until he gets himself right. The offense that we've seen through 2 weeks, which hasn't been good, isn't really like, I'm not doing anything with McCaffrey. Like, McCaffrey's going to be McCaffrey. That's fine. You play him as a top 5 guy like you normally would. I'd still play DJ Moore. I'm kind of worried about Greg Olson, though. But the biggest guy in this game that we talked about, Demir Bird. The Birdman, Coco Beware, revenge game, very fast, playing a ton of snaps for the Cardinals.
He is, and Kyler Murray's thrown the ball 94 times in 2 games. Like there are some people. Where's Kyler Murray rushing the ball? He's not running the ball right now.
The problem is
throwing it.
That he's going to have to break like an 80-yarder to score a touchdown. Because if the Cardinals get inside the red zone, they're definitely kicking a field goal.
I was really confused with last week in Baltimore. I was confused at how safe they played it.
It's
like,
weird,
did you
right?
go into that game thinking that you just wanted to be within a touchdown and you'd be happy and be satisfied? You had an opportunity to win the game. They were inside the red zone.
2 weeks in a
3
row
times.
they've done this.
Yeah.
You just go for the touchdowns.
Yeah, run with Murray. I'm pretty sure he could get it.
He doesn't run.
Yeah,
It's bizarre.
Why is he running?
Maybe they're trying to keep him healthy.
Maybe they are trying to keep him healthy. Maybe it has something to do with the offensive line. I don't know. I'd like to see him run a little bit more.
Well, it's just strange. Like you bring in this, like you're an innovator. You're this young coach. You have this offense. That you're running the air raid and like you're doing stuff that you're passing more because mathematically that makes a lot of sense. Yet you're stopping on the 1 yard line and kicking field goals. Like what the fuck is?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
that was and yeah, maybe it's just the inexperience of the coaching staff. I know like Kingsbury was mic'd up after week 1. He went over to Kyler. He's just like, my bad. We're gonna get better. I'm gonna get better at play calling. So maybe it's a little bit to do with that. But you were in Baltimore with an opportunity to win the game, and I thought they played too conservative. But yeah, Bird, I was really intrigued with him last week. I thought the same thing that you just said. He's like running fast. He was involved. He was going downfield. There was some nice out routes for him, and I think he's a part of the offense. Yeah. I think all 3, like him, Kirk, and Fitzpatrick, are big. They're big pieces of this offense.
And Bird's the min as well.
Yeah, and Kirk's always going to draw the top coverage.
So here's top corner. So here's what you can do. You can play Kyle Allen at quarterback for $4,000. You can play Demir Bird for $3,000. You can play Devin Smith for $3,400 and Darwin Thompson for an even $3,000.
So who are you spending up on?
Then you can take your 5 favorite players on this slate. Yeah. You can afford anybody
that you want. Yeah, you can go in with the value lineups used to do in the day and leave $10K off the board and get. You
probably don't need to do that, but like just using some combination of those 4 guys and like even Arcega Whiteside, you could throw into that mix as well if Alshon ends up sitting. Like, there's a lot of value players this week that if you want to spend up, you can find the pay down guys in order to pay up. Like, Darwin Thompson would be my first cut from that list because I don't know how many touches he's going to get. Like, if he had 5 touches in this game and Shady was fine and got 24, wouldn't be super stunned. And it's a tougher matchup against this run defense.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to run. Even if Shady plays 90% of the snaps, I don't expect him to have a lot of work, like at least a lot of, I don't expect him to be too efficient on the ground. I expect a lot like last week where neither back did a whole lot. But if he's going to catch 5 or 6 balls, he's going to be fine. You put him in there. There's another guy too, and I know I talked about him last week. Sorry if you took a flyer on him, James Washington. I still like him. Still like him.
News came out today.
Like him even more.
Deontay Thompson's going to start at wide receiver.
I think that's. I don't think that's bad news for Washington. It just means that like clearly Moncrief is absolutely toast now.
Moncrief might be joining.
He's garbage.
Antonio Brown in the unemployment line.
He's
here in a
absolutely brutal. Again, he had that one good year because of Andrew Luck. He was very lucky. Washington is going to be involved. He was the wide receiver, the favorite option for Mason Rudolph 4 years of college, Oklahoma State. Took a lot of shots downfield with him, and they drafted both of these guys together right away. If you saw Mason Rudolph come into that game last week, he took a shot downfield with James Washington. I guarantee you he's going to take 1 or 2 shots. So I like them both. I think even Deontay's he's also a very cheap option.
Super cheap.
Yeah,
throw him into that. Throw him into that pile.
Throw him in there. There's so much value. So who are the guys you spend up on? Dalvin Cook. Ton of usage.
Dalvin Cook and Eckler, I think, are the two.
But
if you want to like go up, Zeke is very interesting. If you play some of these guys, Zeke and Christian McCaffrey are there for the taking.
I think if Zeke sits in the 4th, it's because he got his early.
Yeah, like I'm not concerned about like someone was like you should play Tony Pollard this week.
Like,
play Zeke.
If Pollard plays, it's because Zeke went off.
Yes,
absolutely.
Or Devin Smith goes off.
He can take a couple shots downfield with him too. Yeah, I really like this Dallas offense. I'm waiting for them to play somebody good, but right now, like looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
do.
really
I do
does.
think the one guy to not necessarily avoid, but all things being equal with his price is Amari Cooper. Like, I'm not sitting him in season long, but like
Right.
for DraftKings,
Yeah,
Xavier Howard is still good.
he is still good.
And he'll just make you like. And the rest of the Dolphins are so bad.
Yeah.
That especially now without Minka Fitzpatrick as well. That.
Yeah.
If you just see Xavier Howard locking down Amari Cooper, it's like, well, I don't need to force
You
the
don't
ball to
need
him.
to. That's the
Everyone
point.
else is open. I'll just throw to them.
Right, exactly. You're going to be up in this game, probably double-digit score the entire time after the first quarter, so you don't need to force the ball. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Smith, and maybe Cobb is a safer guy, but I like Smith more as the
Yeah, just
deeper guy.
take the shot. Like we're talking about
Yeah, we're
DraftKings
talking about
wise,
winning
or
the
just
tournament,
going, trying to. If someone's going to score 30 points, it's likely
It's
going to be Smith,
and
not Cobb.
Yeah, agreed.
Trent Taylor was put on IR today with a foot injury, so he's going to be out for a while. I don't know if it's like eligible to return, but you probably didn't own him anyway.
Yeah.
Just less confusion. A lot of
It
confusion.
was Jimmy G's favorite target
A
through
lot of
camp.
confusion on the 49ers offense, whether it be the backfield or receiving core. That's just one less guy.
One less guy to worry about.
Jalen
Dante
Hurd probably
Pettis
sits
threw a
too.
football last week, not catching balls, throwing footballs.
Albert Wilson's going to sit again with a calf injury for the Dolphins. Devontae Parker has a ton of air yards, but he sucks. So
Yeah,
Preston Williams,
Yeah.
is probably going to be the only guy you could consider starting. And even then, I still think I have him ranked like wide receiver 48.
Yeah, it's too bad because I actually think he's very talented. I mean, that touchdown week 1 that he had was great feet work in the end zone. I think he's a pretty good talent, but Josh Rosen is in as quarterback now, and there's just not a lot to like about Miami. We just know this.
T.Y. Hilton drew a questionable tag with
yeah.
quad injury. It looks like he's going to play, though. Just keep an eye on that. The only other one is I picked the Browns +3 against the Rams on Sunday night. The Browns, like Denzel Ward might not play now.
not good.
Njoku's done with
Yeah.
a broken wrist.
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of injuries. The spread doesn't move though. So
I don't understand what's going on with that spread.
I'm not going to play the Browns, like bet on it or even throw it into my Super 7, but I'm going to keep up with my pick of the Browns here. The spread is too wonky. It's like the stupid Detroit game last week where I took the Chargers and we all said, like, this is the trap game of the week.
Yes,
Somehow
yes.
Detroit's going to win. Just pick Detroit. And we didn't do it. And It's
Right.
like, of course, they end up winning because the Chargers went full Chargers in that game.
There's something going on with the spread, and I think we just need to like after week 1, what did we say? Why was LA only 2.5 point favorites against Carolina on the road? Why? For me, I'm just taking the better team on the road in LA. Maybe Vegas is overvaluing Cleveland like we all did at the start of the season. There's some guys banged up that you mentioned. And also the offensive line is still not good. And Baker's getting hit. He's getting hit a ton. He needs to get the ball out quicker. They need to do a better job of maybe giving him the play quicker.
That's who it was. Freddie Kitchen said they need to get Nick Chubb more work.
Holy shit, bud. Like,
Yeah.
give him more work then. Like, what do you do putting in fake Duke Johnson on the field, like, all the time? Like,
Who was that
in
guy?
there, like...
It wasn't even Dontrell Hilliard because he's still out with the concussion.
like
It was that other guy.
Johnson is his last name. It looks like Duke Johnson a little bit out there, a little bit bigger.
Maybe
Like,
Duke
I don't
Johnson just
understand
plays
what's
for
going
two
on.
teams now.
But Baker is, I don't know if it's him holding onto the ball. The offensive line is obviously not great, what we've seen over the first couple weeks of the season. But what I also notice is that he's getting up to the line of scrimmage and calling the plays with like 3 or 4 seconds left. It's just like the offense is not in sync. I think the Rams roll.
I think that everyone was so in on Cleveland, but now they've watched them for 2 games. Now they're all out on Cleveland.
I'm more worried after week 2 than week 1.
Yeah, but the thing
It
is,
was the
now,
Jets.
now that everyone is all the way out, watch
Yeah.
them drop 50.
Sure, that's possible. I'm not all the way out, but I am more worried after week 2 than week 1. It was the Jets, and without one big play from Odell Beckham Jr. in that game, we're looking at, it was a lot closer, and the Jets did nothing in
Jets
that
suck.
game. Yeah, they were absolutely just awful. Man, they're bad.
Thursday night football, Jags win 20-7 against Les Titans. Mariota sacked 9 times. He can do it.
Oh my!
He can do it 9 times.
Man, he's bad though.
The
He's
Titans
bad.
run on first down every single
and
time.
everybody knows it.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody knows it. I remember
Just
sitting
run
here
play
with
action.
you last year. We had the exact same conversation. Why wasn't Derrick Henry all that good? Because every time they were on the field, they just ran with him. It's even watching them late in the game last night with 2-3 minutes left in the game. They're like throwing the ball forward. Why did they run
with Deion Lewis?
Why did he touch the ball in the first down? They're down 5.
Why are
they're
they
down
running?
2 scores with 5 minutes left, and they ran with
they were down by 2 scores with like a minute 30 left, and their first play was run up the gut with Deion Lewis.
What the hell
I don't
is
know.
going
I don't
on?
know.
My
Mike Vrabel's like
goodness.
he trimmed the beard and he just has this mustache. He looks exactly like fucking Ken Wisenhunt now. He might be possessed by Ken Wisenhunt, and it's all going wrong for them again.
I don't have any confidence in him. I have no confidence in Corey Davis. I'm starting to I'm
Henry
questioning
is
myself.
Henry and Walker are the only two guys that you can play on that team, and their upside is capped.
I'm starting to question myself whether I can identify talent because I like Corey Davis coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be good.
Do you know-
I
do
just
you know
think,
why?
Is he suck or is it Marcus Mariota or is it this offense?
Did you see, he was wide open last night. Mariota threw like a
Yeah, I saw
gopher
that.
ball over his, and Corey Davis brought it down with one hand. It was amazing
I
catch.
know, and that's when I'm like, okay, Davis is fine. Like, get him the hell out of Tennessee. Like, can't we just wait until he's gone in a couple more years where he's on a capable team? When are they going to turn to Tannehill?
That's the thing. When do they turn to Tannehill? 'Cause
I would turn to him after next week. I would really consider it right now and just say, okay, fine, Jacksonville, let's give them a little bit of respect. They still a strong defensive team can get after the quarterback. But after next week, I don't know who they play next week. I would really consider Tannehill. It can't be worse at this point. I think it would be a positive
For
the
everyone
offense,
involved.
Everybody
Agreed.
involved. Move the ball downfield.
why is
Mariota can't
Deion
throw the ball?
Why is Deion Lewis still on this team if they don't use him?
And they don't use him.
No, they don't.
He's got like
never in the
5
game.
fantasy points in 3 weeks.
It's weird.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird. And they paid him. And last year at the start of the season, they said that both guys, they would be back and forth with both guys. Game script, obviously. He really shouldn't touch the field. I mean,
he should.
just
Did you see
feed
them try to
Henry.
throw to Derrick Henry? Old stone hands, like dropping it, hitting him, then kicking it out of bounds. Like, oh.
And you're just going to get him hurt by doing that, by throwing him. Yeah,
I
so
get you
make
want
the
to get him
change.
to space, but like,
Yeah.
he actually looked good on the ground.
Yeah, he
But
did.
but when everyone knows what you're doing,
I
it's,
know,
it's
because
not
they
gonna
can't move the ball. They can't throw it. They can't move the ball
work.
downfield.
Run some play action.
Sure.
On first down. If everyone's convinced you're going to throw it on, that's the thing. Like the Jags sold out to stop the run on every first down,
As every team
and
should
and the
against
Titans
them.
never changed it up.
Yeah, I know. Make some adjustments. It's pitiful. I have no confidence in Vrabel. Like, I don't understand what is going on with this offense. Like, and you can't even buy low on Corey Davis because you don't want him. Like,
You
why
don't
do
want him on
even
your team.
Like,
Yeah.
I actually dropped him yesterday in a 12-team league, which felt sick to do because I think he's very talented. But yeah, Tennessee's brutal. His Minshew's already better than Mariota.
Oh, man, I was sleeping on Minshew walk.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was not. I did
No,
not
me
have
neither.
any
Of course
confidence
not.
that
I
he was
don't
going
think
to be good in this
anybody
game.
did. Nobody did.
He made some really impressive throws.
He did, and
like back shoulder threw it to the.
Oh, that was a beautiful
like,
throw to Chark in the end zone.
The one that he threw to Dede down the sidelines was even better.
Also great, perfect throw, unbelievable. And Dede went in and brought it down. And Dede didn't help him out a lot yesterday. There was a couple drops that
Dede's
that he had.
gonna end up being like a second half star.
I think, people are sour on him. They've already asked me questions about dropping him.
Don't drop him.
Don't drop him. I think the big takeaway is, did he not lead in targets? Did he not have 8 or 9 targets yesterday in that game?
Play Chark every week. He's
Yeah,
good.
and play Chark every week. I had some Chark offers, and I said, hell no, I don't believe in that guy. I think week 1 was like, I forget who it was, but I said absolutely not. But if you have Chark, and you probably weren't starting him, but now you start him as a wide receiver 3 as a flex guy.
Do you like Baby Chark, Heart of Charkness, or the Chark Knight better?
I don't even know who some of these guys are.
No, they're all nicknames that we're rolling with for DJ Chark.
Oh, okay. I
or
was just like,
Charknado.
say them again.
So we have Baby Chark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Baby Chark.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
all right.
Is
It's
that
all
a
right.
popular song in the household?
Oh,
not yet.
Yeah,
Soon enough.
it is.
It is.
The baby just goes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I guess we're listening to this 30 times in a row. And it just gets ingrained in your mind.
Yeah.
The Chark Knight,
That's not bad.
Heart of Charkness, which I love.
Heart
Paul
of
came up
Charkness,
with that.
okay.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good deep cut.
That is a
you
good
know how
deep one.
I enjoy a deep cut,
Yeah.
not the obvious one.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other one was just Charknado.
Yeah. Sharknado's kind of soft. I like Paul's suggestion. I think we go with that.
Heart of Charkness?
Yeah.
I
Heart of
think I
Charkness
think
is
I like
real
that too.
nice. Yeah. I mean, Minshew looks good, man. And you and I talked off camera is that he doesn't seem like any other rookie. He reminds me a lot like Nick Foles because he comes into a situation and he's not afraid to take shots downfield. He has absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah, Josh Jobs isn't coming in and
Right?
replacing him.
Yeah, nothing to lose. Nobody thought about him on draft day. He wasn't even given an opportunity to get first team reps. It was all Foles, and now Foles is out, and he looks good. He looks fine. I mean, he looked good right away, and we just made an excuse on Kansas City's soft secondary. That's all we said. We were just like, nah, whatever, 22 for 25. Yeah, doesn't matter.
He's completing passes at over an 88% rate.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with him week 2 on that final drive when he came down the field against Houston. And he at one play he almost ran it in himself. He took a couple shots, and yeah, he looks solid.
Keep an eye on his rushing prop because it was super low last night. And I don't know why. Like I looked at it, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you want to see, you want to see, and he can move around. He's a definite starter in 2 quarterback leagues.
For
100%.
sure. I don't know if he is in 1 quarterback.
I don't think so yet either. Not there yet.
Because he's
but-
still capped out at like 200 yards.
Right, yeah. But he also didn't get any help yesterday on the run game either. Like Leonard Fournette.
You worried about
yards,
Fournette?
Negative yards. I mean, slightly. He was. I have some respect for Tennessee's run defense. So, I mean, that was a positive. But yeah, Leonard Fournette has been very disappointing. I mean, I don't want to say the entire NFL career because he's had touchdowns, but yeah, maybe a little disappointed considering the hype when he came out of college.
Some spreads, like I said, the only 2 that I've still bet on for the week, I still like Tampa -6.5. That's my super lock of the week. 2-0 so far on the super lock.
Nice, very
Although
nice.
whenever I lose, I pick Tennessee just in the pick'ems.
Yeah.
Whenever I get the Thursday game wrong, I never have a good week. Whenever I get it right, tail me that week.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling super confident about this
So
week.
last week I had the Thursday. This week I didn't, and I feel like I'm in the same boat. I was already kind of down in the dumps today. Like, man, I'm 0-1 to start the week. Like, so much you want.
Nothing made me more sour. Like I played the 4 bets. I lost 3 of them and got the sacks over. But the fact that I didn't bet James O'Shaughnessy first touchdown, that is right up the Irish assassin.
Yeah.
That's a guy who's right up my alley for first touchdown.
That's your guy. Yeah.
I bet Derrick Henry first touchdown like a loser.
Yeah, that's not your jam.
I
That's
know.
not- that's not what you do at all. Yeah, I know. That's
weird.
That is weird.
That's really bizarre.
Oh, man, that's one you normally cash on, man.
So Tampa -6.5 at home. I like. People are just big on Danny Dimes because he's so much better than Eli. I don't know if that's true. Sterling Shepard is back. Yes.
That's positive.
It looks like Cody Latimer. Cody Latimer's going to miss. Benny Fowler's dinged up. Like, here's the thing. I know Tampa's dealing with some injuries right now on defense too, but they have Vita Vea in, they have Ndamukong Suh, and they can stop the run.
Oh, yeah.
If they stop the run and just limit Barkley, like Barkley will still have his one big run because he does it every single week.
And he usually does it in the first drive.
Yeah. So he's done it the last 2 weeks on the first drive.
Yeah.
So just shut him down on the first drive. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the Giants defense sucks.
It does suck. It is very bad. And as much as you want to say Jameis Winston's has been bad, he was at least efficient last week. I thought he made some better throws.
Evans dropped a touchdown.
a touchdown. Yeah. And maybe they'll lean on Howard. Maybe they'll throw a ball to Howard this week. Who knows? But
there's your stack this week. Your contrarian stack.
Howard?
Evans, Howard, Jameis.
yeah. And Godwin is more expensive than Evans.
He's the guy to keep out of that realistically. If you want to play like a game
for
stack
sure.
and fade.
And what do we know about the Giants over the past couple of years? Is
They're
they
bad?
struggle against tight ends. They're very bad, yes, but they struggle to cover the tight end position. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine too many people being on Howard. I think sharp people will be on Howard and take shots at him. Like, you just brought him up. I think it's a good call.
He's down in that range with Hawkinson and Olsen. Like,
Yeah.
I might play if I did like 4 lineups and I wanted to go that low.
Yeah.
Because Waller's not that much more.
No.
I just think that he's safer.
Yeah, I agree. He's
so
safer.
fast.
He is so fast, and I think he's actually the number one option for Derek Carr. Like, as much as when Tyrell Williams has been good too, but he usually draws the top corner, which is really tough. So I like that call by you, the lock, Tampa. I think that the offense will roll better with Jones. I do. It was a small sample size, but he was just making anticipation throws in preseason that I just normally don't see.
He still
from
needs that
quarterbacks.
line to hold up, or he's going to look just like Eli.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we could get a lot of dump offs to Barkley and Evan Ingram in this game.
So I have no fantasy wise Ingram and Barkley. They're fine.
You roll them out.
You always play.
It can't
those
be
guys.
worse.
Shepard
It can't be
is iffy, but like he's a fringe top 30 type guy.
Yeah.
But the other one that I bet on, I actually bet it at 44 and it's dropped because everyone's pounding the under on this game. But I like the over for what I talked about earlier in Cincinnati Buffalo.
Oh,
That just seems like a game where there could be 2 defensive scores.
yeah.
And just like it's a shit show type game. So just take the over. Everyone's betting the under. Like,
Yeah.
oh, how is Cincinnati going to move the ball? But when you have even if it's John Brown on the Bills side of the ball, Josh Allen's rushing ability, John Ross's game-breaking speed, plus the ability for both those teams to turn it over, there's big play potential that leads to scoring in that game. And everyone, I think it's like 94% of bets have come in on the under. Just take the over.
Yeah.
And those are the 2 that
It is interesting. You make some good points because I do feel like it'll be a low scoring game, but no, you're right. I mean, you could get as I said earlier, with the throws from Dalton and the new offense, they're taking shots downfield, and you would never have guessed that Cincinnati would have went into Seattle and scored 20 plus points, and Dalton had a career game. So it's certainly capable. He's certainly capable of it.
Any other spreads out there? I kind of
I like Detroit.
I like the Steelers.
I know I just brought it up already. I like the Steelers too. I think that Vegas is San Fran's getting way too much respect for beating two mediocre teams, in my opinion. So I like the Steelers a lot too. What is it, 7.5? Yeah,
It's 6.5.
There's two big ones. That one and Detroit. I'm on Detroit. I think they can win outright. But I don't think this offense is going to take that much of a step back. I know it's crazy to say with Big Ben, but he wasn't playing that well anyways. And he was playing week 1 with the elbow injury.
Yeah.
Mason had already said he knew about that injury, so it was very possible for him to get in. Juju is playing, he's healthy, and Connor's playing, he's healthy.
So, yeah, and for the Super 7, if people don't know, you pick 7 games against the spread, you lock in one of them, and that's worth 2. So I've locked in Tampa Bay. Yeah. The Steelers are on that card. I put Cincinnati on the card at +6. I don't love it, but there weren't a lot of games I liked. You know what I ended up doing? Dallas and the Patriots. Until Miami shows they have any life.
Yeah. They're in on the show at The Athletic. We do the picks. We roll through everyone like you, and we pick our 5 favorite. And it's funny, I said I was 12-4 last week, and I had 3 of my 5 wrong. It's like my favorites are like clearly not right at all. But New England and Dallas were in my top 5 as well this week. And I said the same thing as you until I see something different from Miami. And if you're betting the over-under, I think you just have to ask yourself this. I said on the show last week, do you think the Patriots will score more than 45 points? If you do, pick the over, because there's a good chance Miami doesn't score 10. And I feel the same way this week. If you think Dallas, 44.5? If you think Dallas is going to score that many points, you take the over. But again, I see a game where Miami doesn't score 10 and Dallas gets to at least 30. So that's covering, basically.
All right, let's talk about some DraftKings ownership. We forgot to do this segment last week.
Oh, yeah.
Someone got mad at me. I was like, oh, yeah, that probably makes sense if this is why you're tuning into the show, and I put it in the title of the video.
For this,
podcast.
Yeah.
So if you go to fansharesports.com, they aggregate all the sentiment ratings from around the industry. I always partner up with them. They're partners with the DraftKings, but it's like $10 for a weekly, $30 for a monthly, and like $120 for the annual plan. But if you use the code PME, you get yourself a nice little discount.
And they're dead on too. It's a nice DFS tool.
Yeah, and it updates all the time as well. So if you're looking for, it's really good to use pivot plays or just understand where people are going this week. Yeah. And this isn't to say you need to fade all the chalk, because you don't need to fade all the chalk. Maybe fade like 1 or 2 of the guys. Sure, super chalky. Yeah. But again, code PME, not the PME, just PME. Get yourself some money off at fansharesports.com. Nice. I want to start with defenses.
Dallas.
Over a quarter of teams are projected to use Dallas in the Millionaire Maker. The Patriots around 15%, then no one else above 10%.
Yeah.
Do you pay up for them? Because I think the Chargers is a pay down defense at 2,500 at home against the Texans, who do nothing but get sacked.
Right.
They can still score 30 points. I don't care about that.
Sure, you want them to get a few sacks, maybe force a fumble. It's very, very possible. I think if you're a cash game player, you'd be silly not to go Cowboys and Patriots. Those would be the 2D that you roll out. But I think you go a little bit different in tournaments. You have to. I mean, you could get burned like last week. We all got burned if we didn't play the Pats D.
Unlike Garion, who played them.
Yeah, very good on Garion. He knows. He knew what he was getting himself into being as a Dolphins fan.
That's why I kind of like you with what about the Lions this week? If you like the Lions and Philly's your team, if people don't know, there's something you see here. They're all banged up.
Yeah, they flat out canceled practice on Wednesday, and Jason Kelsey, he was hurt. He went to the other sideline in that game last week.
Yeah.
He suffered the concussion. Jason Peters, obviously not 100% too. So the offensive line is not great. Wentz has been hit, and he's been hanging on to the ball a little bit longer than what you want him to. At least for me, get rid of the ball, stop taking these hits. So I think Dallas or Detroit certainly in play. Again, I would just fade the top. I know it's so risky, but I would.
If you had to pick between the two, would you go Dallas? Or
I would go Dallas.
I would go Dallas too.
Yeah, I would go Dallas, but. I mean, they're both really good matchups. We're down to the third string quarterback in New York.
I don't know if I would pay down for the Lions. I think the Chargers are my favorite play from down there.
I think San Fran still in play too. As much as I'm talking about Pittsburgh, I think Rudolph is going to take some shots.
I think the Bengals are a better play than them, but sneaky. I just had it in my head. I think the Saints are not a bad play.
Yeah.
The Saints get to the quarterback more than anyone else in football right now. And Russell Wilson takes damage. Unless I get up by a bunch and just start running, which is very much in play.
Right.
This game is close. Wilson's going to be taking hits.
2 fumbles last week. Carson had one and Wilson had one, handed it off to Carson. And I don't love the offense in Seattle.
I still like Carson.
I still like Carson, but I just don't like the offense all that much. Like I like DK, but now he's going to have to go against Lattimore, and yeah, so it's a good call. And you probably figure that they dial up some pressure this week. They're going to have to, right? When you get an inexperienced quarterback in there, you're going to have to try to make something happen on defense. So yeah.
At running back, McCaffrey, Cook, and Eckler are all projected to be the highest.
Wow, McCaffrey. I'm surprised. I was going to play him because I thought everyone would be down on him.
Nah, people are in on it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's DraftKings, especially like over the past 4 years, it used to be, we see this in football, we see this in golf, that everyone's just like, oh, you know who I'm going to take? The guy that everyone liked last week. And who had the bad week, and I'll be on. But now everyone does that, so he's just going to be owned.
Yeah.
Barkley is the guy no one's going to play.
So I might pivot off McCaffrey and Barkley. I wasn't really, honestly, all that intrigued with McCaffrey. I just thought to myself that potentially he could be low owned, and I guess that guy this week is Alvin Kamara. That recency bias.
But I mean,
and everyone who went after him but last week. I'm not going to go there, but I did have a lot of Alvin Kamara last week.
So did I.
I think that they run the football a little bit more with Latavius. Not that I want to play him, but I think that's what happened. So Cook and Eckler is not a surprise. I'm not surprised to see those are very two safe options. What, Eckler has 41 touches in 2 games, and he's leading all backs.
They are two volume running backs, and I'm playing them both. I'm eating the chalk on both of those guys.
Me too.
Because they're just both in good matchups.
Yeah, you spend up on the running backs this week, and you take the value like we talked about.
Yeah, or you just take Frank Gore.
Or you just take put Frank Gore in your flex. Roll with those 3 guys. That was my lineup that I gave up on the football. Those are my 3 backs.
I would actually try to pay up again instead of Frank Gore. I'd go to Carson, or I'd go to Josh Jacobs.
And Carson is very interesting. He's another guy that people won't be on this week.
Carson and Jacobs are the 2 mid-range guys that is like, I used them last week and they suck, so we'll never use them again.
Yeah.
But McCaffrey's so good, no one's really worried about him.
Yeah, and they went to Carson after that second fumble. They went back to him to
later. They gave
Penny, but later on to try to run that game out, which shows me that they're at least confident they give him the pass.
I gave this away a little bit earlier of who the highest owned wide receiver is probably going to be. Do you want to take a guess who the top 3 are?
Well, I won't look at my sheet.
Yeah, you do have it right in front of you.
Well, Aguilar.
I have it number 1. Larry Fitz number 2.
That, it was right on the tip of my tongue.
Sammy Watkins number 3. I love Watkins this week.
Watkins is a good one. Again, recency bias. You look at last week with Hardman and Robinson, but the big takeaway, and it, was the targets and the volume that he got.
I don't think that he's going to end up being the 3rd highest owned guy. I can see Galladay going into that mix.
Galladay should, yeah. I'm surprised that Galladay is not. If you've been watching the Eagles secondary, it's got to be Galladay. And Stafford's airing it out, too.
But if Aguilar is going to be like 15 to 20% owned, he is an instant fade.
Yeah, is what
if he beats me, then he beats me. That's fine.
Sure.
You know what's not going to happen most of the time? Nelson Aguilar is the reason you win $1 million.
Right, because he drops the ball would have been the game-winning touchdown last week. So I agree. As I said earlier, I would play him in cash because I do feel like he's going to return value for you. He's probably going to get a bunch of targets, whether those are short throws or not. But you fade him in tournaments because of all this noise. Absolutely, all the noise. I do like Larry Fitz, and I'm going to have some shares of Larry Fitz.
I'm probably just going to drop all my Larry Fitz shares and just go to Demir Bird and pay up elsewhere. He's 3K.
Yeah, why not?
He's faster.
You have to take shots on all 3 of those guys. I like Arizona's offense. They throw the ball so much, but Watkins is a good one. He was just so expensive last week. I faded him last week because of week 1, and now it's time to get back on him.
Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, 1, 2, 3. At quarterback, but no one wants
to play Josh Allen anymore.
I guess not.
Again,
I'll play Josh Allen.
Yeah,
play Josh Allen and Jameis and Kyle Allen.
Yeah,
the one that really sticks out to me. Listen, at quarterback, no one ever gets owned high enough that it matters. So don't worry about it. Just play the guy that you want to play. Mm-hmm. The big one for me this week that really sticks out that you probably should play is Dak.
Yeah,
because he seems to be the one no one really wants to touch from that higher end. But if Zeke doesn't run in 3 touchdowns, Dak's going to throw 5 touchdowns or run it in himself. Which he does for sure. Yeah, Dak is very interesting. He's another solid quarterback. All 4 of these guys, and a little bit later on, down the board, I still like Allen's price, but I like Allen too.
And again, I'm obviously the theme. If I liked all of Detroit, I like Stafford. So I like Stafford in that situation as well. There's another guy, quarterback.
Jameis, man, I'm telling you, Jameis. Look at Jameis.
Jameis.
But Kyle Allen is $4,000.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're gonna get cute in around that range, like you might as well just go with. I mean, Rudolph I had in some lineups too, but now that Cam is out. I mean, Kyle Allen is a better play.
And he runs
$800, and he runs.
And Arizona's defense sucks.
Yeah, Arizona's defense is not good. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely not. So yeah, some interesting quarterback names out there this week because so many guys got hurt.
Yeah, and that's really suppressing the because there's so many value quarterbacks that Mahomes and Lamar's ownership isn't getting out of control.
No. Yeah.
So if you just wanted to load up on that game, load up on that game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Would you go Hardman or Robinson?
I would go Robinson.
Tight ends, Ertz, Kelsey, and Andrews. Those are the three guys everyone's going for. So he said Kittle is a nice pivot play off the very top end guy. So was Ingram, I think.
Yeah.
But I like Vance McDonald and Waller. And even Hawkinson at a lower price. But
Yeah.
I think I'll end up playing a lot of Waller just because he's that in-between price. Now that there's news that Jacobs and Williams are healthy, people get off and be like, oh, he's not going to get the share that you thought. But
yeah, Waller's just good. He's just great.
yeah, he's going to be used every week.
He's that easy completion for Derek Carr.
They
Doesn't
don't-
want to throw the ball down
They,
the field.
they don't ask him to block ever.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
always nice.
No, it's perfectly fine. Again, look at last year with Cook. Take all of those targets and all those catches and add a couple more on because he's not going to drop it.
Yeah. All right, Chris Meaney, The Athletic.
Yes.
Fantasy Footballers podcast. You do everything.
It's
I can't
hockey
believe you have
season.
time. I
so-
can't. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is hockey season.
It's been a rough week. I haven't got a lot of sleep. We launched our fantasy hockey draft guide this week.
I suggest try cocaine.
Yeah.
Keep you up. Don't do
I am
that.
up.
I'm not advocating that. Don't do that. Just drink a lot of Red Bull.
Drink a
Oh, we
lot
got
of Red Bull.
we got more coming out here. More news.
Not as crazy of news. Maybe it changes your opinion on Chris Carson.
Oh,
Rashad
no.
Penny just injured his hamstring
Ooh.
4 minutes ago.
Oh.
So he's going to be questionable
Okay.
on Sunday, but that probably takes up.
That bums me out a little bit because you and I were just talking about how we were in on Carson as a sneaky play.
I don't. Paul, did you say that into the microphone or not?
No.
No. Okay. So if
Okay.
people didn't hear that, Rashad Penny just injured his hamstring. Paul on top of this.
Yeah,
shit.
Paul's man, you're all over it.
Injured his hamstring at Friday practice. Generally, Friday practice injuries. We saw this with Eric Fisher last week when he hurt his groin. He doesn't play on
Very
Sunday.
bad.
So yeah, Chris Carson. He's going up in the rankings now.
He should. Yeah, that's
Unless-
great.
Unless
That's
CJ
confident.
ProSites does stuff. Ugh.
He may catch a ball or two, whatever. But Carson had the most targets, most catches on his team week one. He, like they said in the offseason, that he was going to be more involved in the passing game. He is. And before you get out of here, two contrarian guys that I was thinking about were Diggs and Thielen. No? If they're going to do it, it's this week against Oakland.
I just like
They've given up a lot of yards.
It'd be Thielen who I'd go first. I know Diggs had the 2 touchdowns called back last week, but
Yeah.
one he cheated.
Yeah.
That's why it got called back.
There's just, I'm sure you're getting this too, and you're probably going to get a ton of it on your live shows. Do I start Diggs or whoever? People just hate Diggs now. They hate him. They want to drop him.
I wouldn't drop him, but
I get it. Tough to start.
I could come up with 3 better receivers on my team
Sure,
to play.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I get everything. Kirk Cousins looks bad. They want to run the football.
Like
Cook
would you
is
play
the
like
offense.
John Brown or Stephen Diggs? The answer is John Brown. It's not even close at this point.
Yeah, I guess
Hollywood
I have to
Brown
deal
or-
with White
or
though?
Diggs.
I have to deal with White. I just don't love that. Yeah, Hollywood Brown. Like he's gonna
I would play John Brown over Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I just have some respect for Buffalo's D. That's all. But I think from a DraftKings
No,
standpoint.
you're thinking of Tyler Boyd.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, Boyd's can play a little bit in the slot, right?
Yeah, so then it's John Ross who's the
John Ross.
I'm talking
yeah.
about John Brown.
Oh, John Brown. Yeah, my bad. I'm not paying attention at all. John Brown, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. He's a solid wide receiver too.
Yeah, I'd probably play Diggs over John Ross. Yes.
John Ross is who I thought you said. Yeah. Yeah, I would too. I think it's an opportunity. If one of them's going to show up this week, I think it would be this week that they show up.
You'd
is
hope
what I'm
so.
saying. Yeah.
If not,
against Oakland, you can pass on Oakland.
But yeah, you can pass on Oakland. But here's the thing: they're favored by now 9 points
they
at
lean
home.
on Cook and Madison and
What did we see week 1? They got up.
Everybody
Cousins threw
ran.
the ball 10 times.
Yeah, he ran 6. He ran 6 and he threw 10.
But-
yeah,
but
I know. Yeah,
but
they're probably
they're
wrong.
just like
Sure.
we don't need to pass. Screw it.
Right.
So you have to factor that into your ranking. And
Yeah.
like we know what Diggs' upside is. We know he's a good player. But
Yeah.
if this is just going to be a schematic thing with Mike Zimmer, where if they don't have to throw the ball, they're not going to throw the ball. He has no floor. His floor is 0.
And if they have good weeks, it's probably the time that you flip them because this is what they want to do with Gary Kubiak. As long as Cook stays healthy, this guy is going to be 1 or 2 in terms of touches.
All right.
Right?
Chris
Yeah.
Meaney, at Chris Meaney on Twitter, at The Athletic. If you like hockey, then Meaney's your man. He's up all night pounding Red Bull into himself to get himself ready for the hockey season and doing football at the same time. You know, fantasy basketball is coming up soon too. Eventually, Meaney's going to have to pick and choose what he wants to do. But coming up next from thefantasydoctors.com, Dr. Jesse Morse. Time to bring in Dr. Jesse Morse from thefantasydoctors.com to talk about more of these injuries and see if they're longer lasting, if you should trust some of these guys this week. And the one that we found out just at the end of the recording with Meaney is that Rashad Penny had to leave practice on Friday with a hamstring problem. We've seen this crop up, that injuries that happen on Friday, unless apparently you're Mark Andrews last week, that it's going to be a big deal. What do you make of something that crops up like this, and especially because it's a hamstring problem?
Yeah, hamstrings scare me. They don't typically heal well fast at all. I mean, we saw with Diggs a couple of weeks ago, he popped up. He was able to go, but he didn't really do much. He wasn't very effective overall last week. These usually take a good 2, ideally closer to 4 weeks. With so close to the game, I wouldn't be surprised if they inactivated him or just, kept him as a security blanket. I mean, he was starting to get good looks last week, but I have no faith in him this week. I think Carson's going to get a ton of the workload.
Yeah, I'm going to be moving Carson up in my running back rankings for the week. I guess his fumbling issues aren't as big of a concern when there's only CJ Pro sites to back you up, and all we can do is catch passes. So again, you hit the description of this video or podcast, or go to dkplaybook.com, or just follow me on Twitter. You can find all of my rankings at all times, and they're updated as I'm recording this, and then I'll update them again Saturday and Sunday morning. I'll do that twice on Sunday morning for before the inactives and after the inactives actually come out. Next one I want to talk about is Cam's foot. Cam's not going to play this week. We discussed this briefly around 7 days ago, that this could be the best thing that happens to Cam, right? Give that foot time to heal. And if the foot heals and he gets close to 100%, he could still be Cam again, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the problem is, you saw last week, he didn't have any interest in running at all. Like, this is classic Cam, where once he's aggressive, he will run when he needs to. He looked like a shell of his former self. So that midfoot sprain was legit. He definitely was not able to put really any weight on it. He wasn't able to accelerate like he wanted. And he obviously re-injured it because they pretty much have ruled him out since basically Wednesday. Allen is going to run the show with Greer as his backup. I'm just concerned about this midfoot sprain. They need to give it ideally at least probably 2 more weeks before he feels comfortable really being on it again. I don't think the offense will change much personally. It may even be a benefit because Cam's so erratic last week. But yeah, this is definitely a concerning injury. I dropped him in one of my 12-team leagues because I just can't trust him anymore.
But if this is a situation where let's say they sit him out again next week. So he plays on Thursday in week 2. He's going to sit out week 3. And let's say he sits out week 4. Would that be enough time to get the foot back up to at least like 90, 95% healing?
Yes, this should be enough, assuming there's no fractures or anything. And if there was, I think that we would have known about it, and they probably would have let us know, hey, he's definitely, shut down for X amount of time. So the fact that they're calling this, continuing to call this a sprain, and they're not saying, we're shutting him down because he's got a fracture, is pretty good news that he'll probably be a couple weeks and he should be good to go.
And if that's the case, even in a 12-team league, unless I had needed the roster space, bye weeks coming up, myriad of injuries happening, that I would try to hold on to Cam for as long as possible, because I want a full-strength Cam Newton as my starting fantasy quarterback, and that just clearly wasn't the case, at least for the first 2 weeks. But if they can get him back up to where he can be running again, it's an opportunity to seize right now as a buy low, because you don't have to play him. There are capable options, even like Allen on the waiver wire. Either Allen, I mean, Josh Allen, clearly better, but either Allen, at least in the temporary, works out fine. Josh Jacobs was dealing with a groin injury and then a hip injury, and then he got sick and lost 10 pounds. Then all of a sudden on Friday, he's taken off the injury report. So what do you make of Jacobs? Do you think that he'll be 100% when Sunday comes?
No, there's no way that Jacobs is going to be 100%. Groin injuries are notorious for re-injury. It's really been about 3 days. Remember, he's also banged up with an illness like Connor was last week, who didn't look very good, like Mike Evans the week before, and he didn't do really well. I really want Jacobs to be good, but I just don't have any faith in him in terms of this short time span and the significance of this groin injury. Even if it's mild, all it takes is one attempted cut through the hole. He re-aggravates it, and now he's shut down for the whole game. I just think that's too risky for someone. Even if he has a flex spot, I think you could find someone with a similar upside but much safer profile.
Well, Meaney and I were discussing this, and we both lean Jacobs in the circumstance, but maybe based on this, maybe I have to change my tune a little bit. But Damian Williams is sitting out. LaShawn McCoy is playing. Darwin Thompson will back him up. Would you play LaShawn McCoy over someone like Josh Jacobs?
No, I'm a little bold, but I'm personally starting Darwin in a couple leagues. I am also considering starting Wilkins in a couple of leagues because I think Mac is probably going to either be underperformed or I think he will struggle or maybe even be inactivated late in the week, like Sunday, because his calf injury is equally as concerning as what's his name's groin injury, Jacobs' groin injury. They're both traditional injuries that have a tendency to linger and have a tendency to re-injure very quickly. So given it's only been 3 or 4 days since they've suffered these injuries and they're expecting to go full force in 3 or 4 days, probably not a good combo.
So McCoy's ankle actually does worry you too then?
Yeah, I mean, Damian Williams definitely is probably, if he plays, he's going to be a shell of himself.
Damian Williams has been ruled out. McCoy's going to play.
Oh, he has been ruled out. Okay, I hadn't seen him been ruled out, but McCoy, he's got an ankle. MRI was negative. He may get some looks. I'm concerned enough to say, he'll probably get some looks, but probably not enough to be confident in him. They really haven't run the ball well at all. And this is going to be a very high-scoring affair.
Last one I wanted to talk about was now there's rumors that Alshon might actually be able to suit up on Sunday. What would you give the percentage chance of that at? Because Deshaun is out.
So, yeah, but Deshaun being out, Alshon, with now murmurs that he's potentially going to be in. I mean, this seems like the guy that's willing to stick it out. The thing that concerns me with him is the fact that he literally tried to start the game last week, and I turned it on probably at the end of the first quarter, and I don't even remember seeing him at all. So, calf injuries are potentially lingering. They are annoying, and all it takes is one burst off the line, re-injury, and usually he's done for the game. So, I personally would not start Jeffrey because he's so high risk for injury.
Is there any other player out there that we haven't discussed that does concern you a lot heading into week 3 or maybe even beyond due to re-aggravation? Maybe a Joe Mixon, who we're not sure if he's over that ankle injury or not. Anyone in that bucket?
Keep an eye on Jameis Winston's foot. Doesn't sound serious, but and then keep an eye on Traquan is probably going to be out a good 4 weeks, maybe even a little longer. I'm not concerned about Gallup. Tyrell should be fine with the Raiders. James Conner will probably be okay, but he's not going to be like legit for 2 weeks. He'll be okay. And then Joe Mixon, I'm more concerned about his offensive line or what's left of it than I am concerned about his ankle. He's not 100% yet, but his line is so awful. I just don't want anything to do with him.
Last one. Greg Olsen is dealing with back problems. Now, is that a legitimate concern, or is he just old and old people have back problems?
Yeah, this is old and old people have back problems. He was dealing with this a couple last week and he played. So I think he'll continue to get therapy and he'll play the game. And they actually, the Cardinals are awful against the tight end. So this could be a smash spot for either him or Thomas.
All right. That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. You can follow Jesse Morse on Twitter at Dr. Jesse Morse and become a member at thefantasydoctors.com and subscribe to their Patreon feed as well for more in-depth information on each of the injuries. Jesse, you guys do video breakdowns of almost everyone, right?
Correct. Yeah, probably about 80 to 90% a clip of some of the smaller injuries we don't, but 90% of the big stuff we do, yes.
All right. If you want to join the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League, hit the description of this podcast or video. You find the link. It's the best tournament on DraftKings. No rake. That is something you probably want to attack. All the rankings are currently updated. And join me Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, DraftKings YouTube channel, Pat Mayo Experience Facebook page. That's facebook.com/thepme. Or if you don't want to wake up at 9:30, you just want to listen at 10:30, it'll be up on the Pat Mayo Experience podcast feed for all the audio versions for your on-demand consumption. That'll do it for me. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck in week 3. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!